My dear friends, the gospel text is from St. Mark chapter 7, from verse 1 to 8, 40 to 15, and then from 21 to 23. We read that while the Pharisees were concerned about external purity, Jesus teaches about inner purity. The theme is what defiles a person. It is my aim to explain the teaching of Jesus about inner purity. What is our preoccupation in life? What are we concerned about? Can we eat food without washing our hands? And when we see someone eating without washing his or her hands, what is our reaction like? So it is true that we pay more attention to our bodies and are concerned about appearances. But do we give equal attention to how we look from within? The Pharisees from the text were worried that the disciples of Jesus ate without washing their hands. Isn't this a valid concern? Surely it is. The normal practice is that people wash their hands before eating. Not doing so is unhygienic and attracts sickness. The passage says that the Pharisees, and in fact all Jews, do not eat without carefully washing their hands. It is important to explain that the practice of washing hands and other forms of purification in the gospel passage is not intended for hygienic purposes. For the Pharisees, it has a religious significance. The Pharisaic practice of ritual cleansing, described as the traditions of the elders, were the unwritten account that they believed God gave to Moses in addition to the 10 Commandments. With this, they asked Jesus why his disciples did not keep them. The first response by Jesus was a quotation from the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 13, where human precepts are being equated to God's commands. The point being made by Jesus is that the Pharisees were substituting God's law with their tradition. To explain his point, Jesus gave the example where he said that the law states that one must honor the parents. Now, to honor the parents here means that one must take care of them. Yet for the Pharisees, it was okay for one to disregard the needs of the parents and then bring the money as offering to God in the temple. This means that the commandment to honor parents is sidestepped for human teachings. This, according to Jesus, is unacceptable. The law still remains supreme, and all other teachings or traditions must be secondary. And it's important that one is guided by the spirit of the law, which is love and mercy. The second point made by Jesus is about what defiles a person. Eating food, we know, only affects the digestive system, while moral issues involve the heart. What a person eats has no bearing on the moral issues of the soul. Jesus therefore invites his audience to understand what defiles a person. For him, it is not what enters a person from the outside, but rather what comes out from within the person. Being a good teacher, Jesus gives a list of 13 things that come from the heart to defile a person. From within our heart, Jesus says, comes evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, and folly. My dear friends, if these are the evils that come from within and defile us, it's important that we must pay attention to what goes on within us. For we know that an unexamined life is not worth living. It's also important that we focus less on what goes on the outside. Furthermore, We have been invited to stop blaming people for what we do wrong. Why must we blame our partners, for instance, when we are guilty of adultery? Why must we blame society when we are guilty of greed or malice? Why must we blame our parents when we are guilty of theft? It's time we become responsible for our actions and our inactions. Our integrity or our holiness is determined by what goes on in our hearts. And it's important that we know that this is what determines the state of our souls. So Jesus invites us to pay more attention to what is within the hearts. That it is which defiles us. May God bless you all. Amen.